Have you ever raised your hands in the quiet of the night, your heart heavy, your eyes wet, and whispered a dua, a prayer, hoping Allah was listening? But as the days pass, the silence grows louder. You begin to wonder, is He hearing me? Does He even see my pain? When the world grows silent and every door seems closed, a single whisper can still reach the heavens. Let me tell you something that might change the way you think about dua forever. There was once a prophet of Allah, old in age with white hair and trembling hands, yet his heart never stopped calling upon his Lord. This is the story of one such whisper, the whisper of a prophet whose faith outlived time itself. It is the story of Zakariyyah, عليه السلام, the man who taught generations to believe that no prayer is ever lost. Long before his name was etched into Revelation, Zakariyyah was a caretaker of the sacred temple in Jerusalem, the Bayt al-Maqdis. Day after day, he swept its floors, trimmed the lamps, and taught the children who came to learn the words of their Lord. He had no palace, no army, no wealth, only his voice, his scrolls, and a heart that never stopped remembering Allah. But even a prophet can feel the ache of solitude. As the years folded over one another, the crowds he taught grew younger and he grew older. His beard whitened, his steps slowed, and every sunset reminded him that his time was nearing its end. Yet one wish lingered in his heart, a wish he barely dared to speak. He longed for a child, not for the pride of fatherhood, but for a soul to continue the light of guidance after he was gone. A son who would carry truth into a world that was losing its way. Each night he would stand in the stillness of the temple. The lamps flickered, the air was cool, and he would raise his hands whispering the same plea that had become the rhythm of his life. Rabbi la tadarni fardan wa anta khayrul warithin. My Lord, do not leave me alone, though you are the best of inheritors. Surah Al-Anbiya 21:89. Years turned into decades. The heavens seemed silent, but his heart never stopped calling. Faith for him was not measured by the speed of an answer, but by the willingness to keep asking. Then, one ordinary day, the extraordinary appeared. He entered the chamber of Maryam, عليه السلام, the young woman he had taken under his guardianship. She was alone in worship, surrounded by serenity, and before her sat fruits that could not have come from that season. He asked astonished, "O Maryam, from where is this for you?" She looked up with calm certainty. "Huwa min indi Allahi inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisabin." It is from Allah. Indeed, Allah provides for whom He wills without account. Al-Imran 3:37. Her answer pierced his heart like light through darkness. If Allah could send fruit out of season, could He not also send life out of season? That night, the old prophet returned to his chamber with a new fire in his chest. He fell to his knees, his forehead touching the cold stone floor, and he whispered again. But this time, the words trembled with hope. رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً إِنَّكَ سَمِيعُ الدُّعَاءِ. My Lord, grant me from yourself a good offspring. Indeed, you are the hearer of a supplication. Al-Imran 3:38. The air around him stilled, the lamps flickered as if pausing to listen, and then, from the unseen, came a voice unlike any other. فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى. Then the angels called to him while he stood praying in the sanctuary. Indeed, Allah gives you glad tidings of a boy whose name will be Yahya. Al-Imran 3:39. Silence fell again. An old man's breath caught in his chest. His lips quivered. He whispered, almost afraid to believe what he had heard. ربي أن يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر. He nods, My Lord, how can I have a son when old age has reached me and my wife is barren? The reply came, gentle yet absolute. قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء. He said, so it will be. Allah does whatever He wills. And just like that, a miracle was written into destiny. From that night forward, Zakariyyah walked differently. His back still bent with age, but his eyes shone with youth. Every dawn felt like spring. He didn't tell the people yet. Some blessings are too sacred for announcement. They must be guarded in silence until Allah Himself unveils them. Days became weeks, weeks into months. His wife, once weary with age, felt strength return to her bones. The neighbors noticed her smile. The Prophet would sit beside her, holding her hand, whispering dhikr as life quietly took root within her. And when the first cry of the newborn filled their small home, it was not merely the birth of a child. It was the sound of a prayer returning from the heavens. فاستجبنا له ووهبنا له يحيى وأصلحنا له زوجه إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين. So we answered him, and we granted him Yahya and made his wife fit to bear him. They used to hasten to good deeds and call upon us in hope and fear, and they were humble before us. He named the boy Yahya, a name never given before. It meant he lives. And indeed, he was life itself, life after hopelessness, faith after waiting, proof that Allah never forgets the voices that call upon Him. As the child grew, so did the father's gratitude. Zakariyyah would often watch Yahya sleep, tiny chest rising and falling, and whisper through tears, Subhanallah, this is what patience looks like when Allah paints it into the world. People came to him for advice. O Prophet of Allah, how did you keep praying when the years were against you? He would smile softly, because even when I thought I was asking for a child, I was actually being invited to keep talking to my Lord. The sweetness of dua is greater than the sweetness of the answer. That was his secret, to love the conversation more than the result. Time moved gently. Yahya became known for his purity, his courage, his devotion. People said he wept often when remembering Allah. Every virtue that lived in the father took root in the son. When Yahya recited the scripture, the hearts of men trembled. When he called his people to righteousness, his words carried the fragrance of his father's patience. And Zakariyyah would watch from afar, his eyes wet, whispering, Alhamdulillah, this is the continuation of my prayer, walking upon the earth. As years passed, the Prophet grew weaker, but age did not dim his joy. He would sit with his son beneath the olive trees, sunlight flickering through the branches, and tell him, My beloved child, remember, the greatest gift Allah gives a servant is not what he receives, but the ability to keep asking. Never let your voice fall silent. Then he would quote what had become his lifelong verse. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your Lord says, call upon me, I will respond to you. And that, dear listener, is where his story becomes ours. Maybe you too have been waiting and for relief, for healing, for guidance, for a door to open. Maybe your hands have lifted night after night and all you've heard is silence. But remember, the silence is not emptiness. It is space being prepared for something greater. When Allah delays, He is not denying you. He is perfecting the moment when His be will reach your life. So do what Zakariyyah did. Keep praying when logic tells you it's over. Keep hoping when the world has moved on. And when the heart whispers it's impossible, remind it of the old prophet who looked at the impossible and still whispered, "My Lord, grant me from yourself a good offspring." Tonight, when the world falls quiet and you stand before your Lord, raise your hands the way Zakariyyah did. Do not count the years that have passed. Do not measure the distance between you and your dream. For the one who answered him is still the same, and his mercy has no expiry. Every dua leaves an imprint in the unseen. Some blossom quickly, others are stored until the moment that will teach you the most. Either way, not a single word you utter is lost. So whisper again. Whisper even if your voice shakes. And know that somewhere beyond the veil of this world, your prayer has already been heard. Because Allah, the hearer of all, never leaves a believer unanswered. When Zakariyyah, عليه السلام, passed from this world, his story did not end. It lived on in the heartbeat of every believer who ever lifted their hands to the sky. His life was more than a miracle. It was a reminder written across time that no matter how silent the world becomes, dua never dies. Generations came and went. The temple he once tended grew old. Its stones replaced. Its people changed. But his words remained, whispered by prophets, recited by scholars, remembered by hearts that refused to give up hope. And somewhere, centuries later, another miracle would begin in the same land through another woman named Maryam, whose son, Sa عليه السلام, would carry the same message of mercy and faith. This was no coincidence. The thread of dua runs through every story of divine love. Dua is not only the act of asking, it is the art of remembering. It is the moment when the servant says, "Ya Allah, I know you see me." And in that instant, life changes, even if the world outside looks the same. Zakariyyah taught us that the greatest transformations begin in silence, not in the noise of miracles, but in the whisper of a heart that still believes. He once said to his son, as the sun dipped below the hills of Jerusalem, "My beloved Yahya, never measure Allah's mercy by time. Measure it by how close your heart feels when you call upon Him." That was the secret of his peace, to find joy in the asking itself. He never prayed with impatience, he prayed with love. He did not treat dua as a transaction, but as a reunion. And that, my dear listener, is the heart of our lesson tonight. When you make dua, don't rush the response, because sometimes Allah delays the answer to give you something far greater, the sweetness of His company. He wants to hear your voice again, to see you wake before dawn, to whisper your hopes through tears. What you think is silence is actually an invitation to stay a little longer in His presence. Think of it. Zakariyyah's dua was answered not when he first asked, not after 1 year or 10, but after a lifetime of devotion. And yet, not once did he say, "My Lord, why not me?" He simply kept his heart open, trusting that if Allah had not answered, it was because He was preparing a more perfect yes. Now, look at our world today. We rush for everything: results, relief, recognition. We measure our dua by how fast it changes our circumstances. But the truth is, dua first changes you before it ever changes your situation. When you call upon Allah sincerely, you become softer, humbler, more awake, your patience grows, your ego fades. You start to see that the true answer was not the thing you asked for, but the person you became out of while waiting. And in that transformation lies the mercy that Zakariyyah عليه السلام understood so well. He had no wealth, no power, no children for most of his life. Yet his name is remembered in every corner of the world today. Why? Because he never stopped asking. He left behind the fragrance of dua, a scent that never fades. Even the angels spoke of him. not because of his miracles, but because of his humility. As Allah said, إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين. They used to hasten to good deeds, and they would call upon us in hope and fear, and they were humble before us. This verse, my dear brothers and sisters, is not just history, it is instruction. It teaches us how to live, how to breathe, how to walk through trials. Hope and fear, ragaban wa rahaban, both wings of a believer's heart. Hope in Allah's mercy and fear of being distant from Him. Sometimes we think dua is only for the desperate, for the ones who've lost everything. But the truth is, dua is for everyone. For the healthy, the joyful, the strong. Even the Prophet Muhammad, the most beloved to Allah, would make dua constantly. He would lift his hands and say, Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbaka wa hubba man yuhibbuk wa hubba amalin yuqarribuni ila hubbik. O Allah, I ask you for your love and the love of those who love you and the love of deeds that bring me closer to your love. Even the messenger needed dua, and not because he lacked, but because he knew the sweetness of being close to Allah. So tonight, wherever you are listening, maybe in your car, your room, or while the world sleeps, remember Zakariyyah, عليه السلام. Remember the man who spent a lifetime in service, who grew old without complaint, who prayed in whispers until those whispers turned into revelation. He didn't stop at logic, he prayed with love. He didn't pray because he wanted proof, he prayed because he already believed. And when Allah finally said yes, He didn't just give him a child, He gave him a prophet. He didn't just grant him joy, He gave him legacy. Because Allah never gives you exactly what you ask for, He gives you more than you dared to imagine. Now ask yourself, what if your unanswered dua is not a denial but preparation for something so beautiful you couldn't yet carry it? What if Allah is shaping your heart first, so when the answer comes you will be ready to receive it with wisdom and gratitude? This is what Zakariyyah عليه السلام would tell us if he could stand before us today. Never stop asking, Surah. Never stop believing. Your dua is already building something in the unseen. And so the old temple in Jerusalem stands as a silent witness to one of the greatest prayers ever made. Its walls no longer remember his voice, but the heavens do. Every time a believer whispers their needs in the quiet of the night, the memory of Zakariyyah's prayer rises again, a ripple through time, connecting hearts that refuse to give up on Allah. There's a moment deep in the night when the world feels still and your soul feels closest to its creator. That's the moment to speak, not with fancy words, but with honesty. Just say, Ya Allah, you know me better than I know myself. You know what I need, even before I ask. But I still ask because I love speaking to you. And that alone is dua. Zakariyyah's story is proof that even a whisper can move the heavens. He began with a request for a child. He ended by teaching the world how to pray. And you, yes, you're listening right now, are part of that same story. Your dua tonight may become someone's miracle tomorrow. Your patience may open a door that future generations will walk through. Because Allah does not forget voices that call upon Him with sincerity. So keep calling. When you are sick, call. When you are lost, call. When you are grateful, call. When you are broken, call. When you are content, call. For the one who keeps calling becomes beloved to the one who keeps listening. And one day, when the timing is perfect, not early, not late, you will hear your answer. Maybe in words, maybe in peace, maybe in the way everything suddenly makes sense. And you will smile through tears and say, this is what Allah was preparing me for all along. Prophet Zakariyyah's story ends where all faith stories begin, with trust. Trust that the same Lord who turned his despair into joy can do the same for you. Trust that even in waiting, there is worship. Trust that even in silence, there is an answer unfolding. So tonight, when you raise your hands, do not ask, when will my dua be answered? Ask instead, how can I grow closer to the one who hears me? For when the heart connects, the answer no longer matters, almost because you already have the giver. The power of dua is not in the words themselves, it is in the heart that utters them. It is the bridge between the human and the divine, between pain and peace, between the impossible and the inevitable. Don't let this night pass in silence. Let your dua rise like light through darkness. Whisper your fears, your hopes, your gratitude. And as you do, remember the old prophet, bent with age yet unbroken in faith, who proved that no matter how long the wait, Allah never forgets a sincere heart. And maybe, just maybe, your story will be the next one told. About a believer who whispered into the night and was answered in ways that changed everything. So as you listen to the echo of Zakariyyah's story fade into the stillness of your heart, remember this. Every dua you make is alive. It doesn't vanish into the air. It rises. It is recorded. It is remembered by the one who never forgets. Maybe it hasn't been answered yet. But maybe, just maybe, you're not waiting for the dua to be answered. Maybe the dua is waiting for you to become the person who can receive it. You see, consistency in calling upon Allah isn't a test of how long you can wait. It's a test of how much you trust. Every Ya Allah that leaves your lips builds your connection to Him, polishes your heart, and reminds your soul that you are never alone. The world will tell you to give up when it takes too long. But Zakariyyah, alayhi salam, teaches us to whisper one more time. When your faith trembles, whisper again. When your eyes fill with tears, whisper again. When everyone else stops believing you, whisper again. Because the believer who never leaves dua never truly falls. Even if nothing changes outside, something beautiful is always changing inside. That's the secret. Dua isn't about forcing an answer. It's about finding yourself in the conversation with Allah. Keep walking towards Him, even when the path feels endless. Keep your heart soft, your tongue wet with remembrance, and your hope anchored in His mercy. For the one who listened to Zakariyyah in the silence of an empty temple will surely listen to you in the silence of your room. He is still the same. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, As-Sami, the all-hearing, the most merciful. And He will never tire of your voice, so don't let a day go by without calling on Him. Even if all you can say is, Ya Allah, say it. Say it with love, say it with need, say it with hope. Because sometimes the shortest dua carries the loudest echo in the heavens. And when the world forgets you, your Lord remembers you. When the people stop asking about you, the angels still carry your words up high. When you think you've been silent too long, Allah still waits lovingly for your next whisper. So hold on to your dua. Hold on to the rope of your faith. And when the night feels heavy, remember that dawn always begins with a prayer. If Zakariyyah's story taught us anything, it's that miracles don't belong to the past. They belong to the patient. And maybe your miracle is already on its way, quietly, perfectly, at the exact moment Allah knows your heart is ready. So don't stop now. Don't walk away from your Lord when He's been waiting to draw you closer. Keep making dua, not because you are desperate, but because you are loved. Because in every Ya Allah, you remind yourself that your story is still being written by the most merciful author. And when that moment comes, when your dua finally blossoms into reality, you'll look back and realize the waiting wasn't a delay. It was a preparation. It was mercy wearing the disguise of patience. So tonight, lift your hands, whisper your dreams again, and trust that your voice is never lost in the wind. It's carried straight to the one who knows your heart even before you speak. If this story touched you, if it reminded you to never stop believing, never stop calling upon your Lord, then make this your moment of action. Stay connected. Join this journey of faith and reflection. Subscribe, share this message, and be part of a community that reminds hearts to stay close to Allah, no matter how long the wait. Because this isn't just a story we heard, it's a story we're meant to live. So keep believing, keep praying, and never stop whispering, and because your dua is still being written in the heavens.